Yesterday, North America jumped into patch 8.11, and while we saw some of the picks teased in different regions, it just left us wanting more. Here you saw FlyQuest walking into the studio earlier today with a test against TSM, Bjergsen, and the rest. Some of the new young stars, rising stars in the LCS, gathering their swag here at the tailgating earlier today. Hello and welcome to the NALCS Countdown, where for 30 minutes we shed some light on the state of the league. And what are you doing,
Good
Mark?
chair.
I'm just showing how nice the new studio
It's one of those
is.
chairs that only turns
That's
halfway.
what makes the studio nice. The fact that you have a rotating
I can do that now
360 chair
before
now.
the thing's not
Chris,
breathing
All
down.
right, well, we're going to do some actual analysis today in previewing the day's matchups until the timer reaches 0 and we jump into Champion Select. Now, after day 1 of the summer split, only Clutch Gaming, Echo Fox, Optic, Team Liquid, and TSM are poised to end Week 1 2-0, while the remaining 5 look for a win to equalize their weekend. We'll see what the chances are of any of that happening with our schedule today, presented by Jersey Mike Subs. Things kick off with TSM versus FlyQuest, followed by Mickey and the Golden Guardians challenging the reigning champions in Team Liquid, with Cloud9's new squad squaring off against Optic Gaming later in the day. If you're looking for a sub above during our games, visit a Jersey Mike's near you or order online at jerseymikes.com. And be sure to check in later in the split for some ways to earn in-game rewards like Hextech chests, skins, and RP when you order online. Now, turning back, though, to the first game of the day, FlyQuest coach says the new meta means any team could take any game.
I think it's coin flip, man. I think any team today is coin flip because it's just like I said, nobody really knows what they think is the best way to play, and I don't think that there is any one best way to play. It's just, you know, is your style going to counter their style for that day? I think we'll start off a little bit slow, just because I think we still need to develop some players. But I think that just because, you know, what I talked about before, where people, they want to work together and solve problems and come to conclusions, I think that we'll be able to develop into a really strong team.
Saying it's a coin flip and then also saying you're starting slow, like I feel like St. Fitch's is lowering the expectations as much as possible. It's like if we lost, well, it's because of the coin flip, but also we're going to do a slow start because of the new players.
To be fair, the point about like styles countering each other is pretty interesting. That match that they played against Echo Fox yesterday, where they kind of had this comp that's great into low range, but then the other team had way bigger tanks, and you saw those two kind of butt heads. So I think there is a little bit of truth in what he's saying.
Also, the only team that had to deal with a role swap yesterday in Echo Fox, and we'll get into more of that in just a bit. To hear more about that match, though, we're going to send it over to the duo who will be bringing it to you in just a bit, Riv and Zyrene.
Thank you very much, Dash. And what stood out to me about TSM's win yesterday is that despite all the changes in the offseason, TSM still played the most TSM way possible.
Yeah, TSM, they went for a full late game composition, and they made it to the late game. They played kind of the traditional style, none of that double bruiser or the mage bottom lane, went with the range marksman. And their new jungler, Grig, he had a tough debut, but he did have a pretty good recovery in the game. He had a bad level 1 that was kind of upset by CLG, and then the rest of the game, he kind of played defensive. He still has a KDA of 10, and saying that he had a bad debut, I mean, is kind of strange to say, but he does have to show more here today.
Absolutely. It's always good to push yourself. And perhaps we'll have a smoother start today again against FlyQuest, who embraced the changes to the league, but didn't have the best first go at it.
Yeah, like the desk was saying, Wild Turtle and Quan, they got punished early on in the game by Echo Fox's bottom lane. They did go with something like a Swain for Wild Turtle in the bot lane carry role. And the question is today is maybe they'll have a better chance up against Sven and Mithy, who play passive early on as opposed to aggressive. So I think in terms of who should be dictating this lane, I'm looking at Wild Turtle and Quan to be the ones that are pushing up.
We came in for these first few weeks before the LCS saying this is like Wild Turtle's meta. Where's that Yasuo? Let's see what happens. So it's going to be exciting. We'll see how that game shakes out and not too long. Until then, back to you, Dash.
What are you guys' thoughts there? The idea that Sven, Mithy, perhaps a little bit more passive, also one of the bot lanes to play a standard bot lane yesterday. How would that interact with, let's say, a crazy pick like Swain from Wild Turtle?
I think it'd be pretty fine for them. A lot of the marksman matchups, the ones that are still getting played, have pretty good laning phases. Ezreal is known for basically getting tier and trying to neutralize the laning phase. That's what Sven and Mithy are best at. And if you're playing against the Yasuo who wants to jump on your face and go crazy, and Ezreal having mobility and stuff will do a good job at trying to avoid all that all-in.
Yeah, and also Sven has been spamming games on all of the other matchups as well and has maintained top 5 in solo queue the whole time. So even though he played Kai'Sa yesterday, he built a death cap. So he's already adapting. I think he's actually going to be fine.
All right, well, from the pool of pros who played on stage yesterday, let's talk about some of the guys who stood out on patch 8.11, starting with the man that declared this to be his meta, Huni.
A lot of pros have had really strong opinions on whether they think it's a good meta or a bad meta. What do you think?
I mean, it's my meta.
And that's pretty much all he has to say, right?
Hard
We
to
were
argue.
excited about Hooney coming into yesterday, and then he was the only player of two to actually pull off a role swap with his teammate Altec also going into the top lane. And it worked very well. I want to see Echo Fox doing more of this, of taking the champions that Hooney is best at and putting them anywhere on the map, because then the pick becomes actually even more powerful. Not only are you worried about Hooney playing it, it's Hooney playing it into any of the 3-lane matchups.
All right, following Hooney, let's talk about Doublelift, a player who did play in a standard setup and also came away with a win.
Yeah, that was the kind of surprising part. Doublelift before the season was talking a lot about, like, I'm loving the meta, it's a lot of fun. Sounds like he's slowly coming back the other way. Ends up playing Xayah in his first game with Ole on Rakan, very standard lane. But it does indicate that, you know, along with Sven playing the marksman, there are still a lot down there that work well, and he's not being forced out of anything he feels uncomfortable on. So it's all upside, it feels like, for Doublelift.
The next player portrait behind us, that's Huhi, the man in the mid lane for CLG.
Yeah, sometimes this guy's actually played too many champions to find expertise on the champions that he needed. He pulled out Renekton yesterday, even though they lost the game. I thought he had a very strong laning phase. And of the mid laners that may be more comfortable going to a Braum or a Taric, if we see that, or playing the Bruiser matchups, or still pulling out the mages, Huhi seems well-versed in all of them, maybe a little bit more so than some of the other mid laners.
Now, outside of the performances that we saw from those players yesterday, I do want to recognize one more player, and that would be Darshan, as today he will play his 400th professional League of Legends game. That does include both regular season and both postseason and international events. But a very stellar career this guy has had, leading the league in terms of number of games played.
Yeah, we're still counting his games when people called him Zion Spartan. This dude was in the first NALCS championship against TSM, and as you can see here, edges out Wild Turtle with 6 more games. He's been around for a while.
And he's going to have a good meta, I think, for him. He did not have the, you know, flashy champion pick last time around, but he's someone who can play a lot of fighters, and there are plenty up there in the top side. So he should be pretty happy, pretty scrappy guy.
Still had that solo kill, so he's feeling good after his performance yesterday. Even in the loss, though, they'd like to pick up that win today. After a total of 5 games of League of Legends, it's only fair I ask you to weigh in on some sweeping generalizations for an installment of Overreactions. First up, Heimerdinger, Fiddlesticks, spot laners going top, triple support, Ghost Dragons, and Yi playing jungle and mid. This is the greatest meta ever.
I agree, not an overreaction. Woo! It's amazing, it's super fun. Just a little asterisk there, like, ask me again in a month.
Okay.
Because once the novelty wears off, if it's just like 5-man dog piles and whoever is a little further ahead wins.
At 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's maybe not gonna be so fun to watch for 9 weeks, and the meta can always change. So as of right now, I am loving it. We'll just have to wait.
Very exciting. I'll ask you in 4 weeks, Jad. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm going to say no, and it's mainly because of how we have coaches, professional coaches, saying that it's a coin flip. Now, I don't agree that it's a coin flip. I feel like you need to have your strategy and you need to get your players on the right thing and you need to learn how to counterpick. But if they are feeling that way and if games are hinging so early off of certain plays, then I want to have a little bit more, I don't know, thought going into the games. If the coaches are saying that, they should definitely be doing more. But when we have so much volatility like this, in 4 weeks, when we check in, if we're still seeing this stuff, but it's more measured and people actually all say they know what they're doing, then I'll say it's the greatest meta.
All right, I feel it. All right, next up, Hooney will never play a tank again, or at least this split.
Yeah, fair statement once again, I'll say. It's the kind of situation where you can just pick Yasuo. He can play it in any lane, and then you're forcing the other team, if you don't want him to be able to play Yasuo, that you have to pick 3 winning matchups versus Yasuo in every lane. That's pretty tough to do. And then there's the Aurelias, the Vlads, all this other stuff. If he's their best aggressive player, just pick the aggressive champion and put him wherever it fits. There's no reason to put him on tanks right now because, at least unless the meta changes, they're not super common.
All right, so fair statement pending meta change that forces him back onto tanks.
Another overreaction.
All right.
He's a counter pick player. He can still carry a game on a tank, and if he sees that opportunity, he's going to do it. If I had to say a tank, it's probably going to be Cho'Gath. It would be the first one that he'd play in the right matchup. He'll just go do that.
All right, finally, Team Liquid are on their way to a repeat championship title after their win yesterday.
Not an overreaction. They are technically on their way after the win yesterday.
So, like, just the most technical, not an overreaction, not a real
But listen, it's not even semantic in the sense that I think of the performances we saw yesterday against Team Liquid's main competitors. They played the second place team from last split. They beat them fairly handily. And I wouldn't say anyone else had a super impressive performance
convincing
after that. So they'd still be the favorites, which
I would
On their way,
say
Mark.
this is
Makes
an
it up.
overreaction.
Fair statement. All right, but you're going with an overreaction.
Yeah, it's week 1. People don't know. People feel like they're being forced into this stuff. Cody Sun didn't look very comfortable on Vladimir. Died level 1. So yeah, they didn't have a great showing on the side of 100 Thieves, but it seems a little over-eager to say that this is now the favorite for the entire split once again.
The rest of the teams
They've been
still
the
have a
favorites.
chance.
They won the last split.
They did. They did win the last split. They are defending their title this time around. Now, the NALCS countdown is taking a quick break. When we return, the pros will share their thoughts on the current meta. There's some segment with numbers or something. And we have a special Father's Day edition of predictions. All that is coming up when we return.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go. Let's go.
Welcome back to the NALCS Countdown, where we're about 14 minutes away from Champion Select. And while we've weighed in on what it's like to analyze League on 811, some pros chimed in to tell us what it's like to play through it.
Personally, I love the new patch.
Every role is like right now seems pretty fun.
It's definitely like the most revolutionary patch.
No one really knows what's really going on.
So on patch 8.11, they nerfed a lot of the base stats of AD carries, and then people realized that you can actually just pick bruisers and go bottom lane.
I think AD carries are playing just AD carry, not bruisers.
If you stagnate and you're not willing to adapt, then you're probably gonna get run over. You're gonna see me on some crazy stuff.
Yeah, I already know how to play the champs because actually I had an account where I was practicing a ton of Yasuo.
Whenever I'm off-rolled in solo queue, I just play Talia middle, and so I'd like to say I'm probably the best Talia in LCS as a jungler.
You play a support mid, your jungle is like a hyper carry, and then the jungler takes all the farm, and then at one point he's just so strong.
I don't usually play supports in mid lane.
It seems kind of relaxing for me because I don't have to like lane, I can just walk around with Braum and just, get some stacks.
There's also that Karthus Nunu.
I think certain players will probably swap around.
So I said I was a better Karthus than Phoenix when we started, so I played Karthus in the first Karthus Nunu. I'm the Nunu now.
You pick a champion, let's say Aurelia, and then enemy picks Renekton, and you're like, damn, this is really bad. I can't win this, right? Should we take the Aurelia top lane, AD carry, jungle, just get me out of the lane, right?
Everything can go everywhere.
I've played against everything.
I don't know what's going on,
Well, you could pretty much see the panic in all of their eyes, too.
Biofrost in particular was like, I don't know what's happening.
I have no idea what to play. I love Dardoch.
Yeah.
We started, I played the Karthus. I now play the new one. That's pretty great.
I figured it out.
All right, well, while 8.11 will be cited as the patch where all the changes became evident, the current state of the game can hardly be attributed to that single set of patch notes.
Yeah, and I like how people are saying that this is patch 8.11, when really 8.11 is the straw that broke the camel's back of all of these changes that had contributed to the current state. All the way back to Spring Split, patch 8.4, the game was too slow. So there were some changes to try and speed it up. Baron buff gives much more attack damage and ability power, and there was a bug fix to the way siege minions work to actually properly apply the damage granted from Baron and the damage granted from Banner of Command. That helps kill turrets and accelerate games. Patch 8.9 as well. Rift Herald was changed, does more damage to turrets, can charge more often and still do a bunch of damage. And there were mage changes in here that not only modified wave clear a little bit, but also allowed them to do much more damage to turrets on auto attacks because it gave them AP scaling, applying magic damage, and using some of their magic pen. Continue to go on to patch 8.10. More changes that can make the game snowball harder, mostly in the jungle. The Scuttle Crab used to give 10 experience at all stages of the game. Now at level 9, it gives 230 experience. It's injecting experience into the system. There were more systemic changes in that patch as well, where kill bounties at 1 and 2 kills, when you killed that person back, the team would just get gold. It prevented games from running away from you.
There was that rubber banding.
Yeah. You don't have that now until you're at 3 kills, and it's still less gold than it used to be, as well as when you're killing jungle camps, you're no longer punished for being a higher level than the jungle camp, and you get full experience. It used to be 5% less experience per level you were above. So by the end of it,
you get that lead.
You'll be getting way less.
That lead.
And you extend it. So that's why we're seeing some of those super strategies get level 18 when everyone else is level 12.
Brings us to 8.11.
And then finally, with the game already being faster, with there already being other ways to kill turrets, you don't need an AD carry for that. AD carries were also nerfed in the laning phase, with the item changes turning crit on later in what's already a faster game. And that's what's actually bringing everything back into the bottom lane.
Yeah, marksmen hadn't had great matchups against a lot of bruisers for a long time anyways. You remember kill lanes way back in the day. Now they just have a lot more tools to actually end the game because you won't get outscaled by those marksmen who also got nerfed.
All right, so of what you saw yesterday, what did you like and or dislike from the teams in terms of the way they played, considering all of these changes that have come through over the past months?
Yeah, I liked most positionless League of Legends, the idea of role swapping instead of champ swapping. And then I also did like when you're still playing what you're good at, like Double If Saya, I thought was one of the best champs of the day because he knew what to do with it and what his role was going to be and how modified it was.
For me, it would be just the draft flexibility, not just in terms of players picking champs that they're not used to playing, but of those champs, they can go anywhere. So the CLG game where they had the Braum that could have gone mid lane, ended up going bottom. Just the fact that even with the same 5 champions, you can end up with different drafts is very cool to me.
Dislikes?
Compositions that lack a carry. So that are still missing some of the fundamental things. We say you don't need a marksman to kill turrets. You still need damage dealers to kill the people with lots of health. And there were some compositions that missed that when we saw Mundo Trunnel running over a composition that really had a very, very narrowing condition. So you still need to keep in mind that you need a tank killer even if it's not an AD carry.
For me, the snowballs, all this adding up, it's a little much. And I would love to keep the draft flexibility while getting down some of the snowballing that's occurring with all these changes.
So finding that middle ground where games aren't averaging, end times around 25 minutes, there still is the ability, though, to pick those kind of crazy champions, bruisers going bot or bruisers going mid. Now, with virtually any pick having a window of viability, please tweet to us using the hashtag NALCS. Which champion would you like to see in pro play? I'll challenge these two to make that champ work. Now, amidst all of the craziness that's been happening in the meta, it's still a team game, and yesterday's Optics Dokla took a stroll down the river just to say, I'm helping, presented by State Farm.
But it looks like no flash on Dokla, who wants to set this play up here against Mickey, does manage to find the knockup. There's your follow-up, there's your ignite, your ulti comes through, and Power of Evil shows him the power of Victor.
I have prio top, I can rotate.
Yeah, do it now, do it now.
There's a pink here too. I'm moving now, okay?
Okay.
I'm looking.
I'm moving.
Run the tipping bot.
That's it, I can't help.
I think you kill him.
I got him.
Nice.
Yep.
Nice. Nice, good shit.
Beast.
Good shit, brother.
Brother. I just love that. But yeah, it was really cool to hear Dokla talking, way before that play. What should I do with this extra bit of free time that I bought myself by getting priority in the lane? Good to see a young player thinking ahead.
Absolutely, the kind of communication that can really benefit your team, especially when you're looking at a lot of things like we're looking at a lot of lanes in isolation right now because of the possibility of 2v2 kills and 1v1 kills within this meta. It's like, don't forget that you can still roam. You can still put your other laners ahead by helping them out. Now, before I hand off the reins, it's no secret that Jat Stats tested my mental fortitude. Damn it! Damn it! What? I swear to God! But it's a new split, and I'm coming into this with a whole new positive mentality, can-do attitude. You're getting a look at the glass half full, can get them all right dash. So let's get things going with the summer's first edition of Jat Stats. To the telly. Ooh, this is funky.
Aren't you gonna dance, Mark?
Yeah. No,
come on, Mark.
I'm very aware of my deficiencies in life, and dancing is one of them.
I love it. Here we go.
Hey, we're in there.
Yeah, we made it. We made it. Yeah. We made it. All right.
Fun.
All right, well, Jad, take it away. Let's go.
We got some stats today. So you're talking about consecutive games played in the LCS, right?
Yep.
Who is 11th in consecutive games? And I have a really good hint for you. It's not anyone who's on this graphic in the top 10. We have this graphic, I swear to God, please. There it is.
So
it's none of these 10 players. Who is 11th in consecutive games played?
Consecutive games played, and it doesn't.
It's consecutive.
It's not current.
Yeah.
It's not current.
It can be all time. It doesn't have to be an active streak because we know Sneaky has the most. That's no longer an active streak. It was broken yesterday.
Right.
Is it Turtle? He's played a ton of games.
Turtle's a good call.
I'm gonna go Turtle.
Apollo's already up there. I was gonna say that would be my guess. I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna go with.
Can-do attitude. Who's it gonna be?
Can-do. Yeah, right. The can-do attitude. Let's go with. God, I really wanted to go with.
Just go.
Why am I blanking on every other player in the game?
Smithy. Go with Wild Turtle.
Ooh, Smithy. I like Smithy.
Yeah, I'm
gonna go Smithy.
All right, Turtle like Smithy. The answer actually is Kiwi Kid. Of all players, we're gonna get the Kiwi Kid answer in there sometime. We found one.
Wow.
237
answer's always
starts.
Kiwi Kid.
Happy birthday, Kiwi. It's not his birthday.
It's not his birthday.
But he made it into the show. I've wanted to do this for so long. Question 2 has to do with champion pool. It's a multiple choice question. We're talking about a lot of all-time leaders. Which player has the largest champion pool in NA LCS history? Has played the most champions?
I mean, I feel like
multiple choice.
Do I? Oh, it's a multiple.
Darshan, High, Pobelter, Bjergsen. or Kiwi.
I'm actually a little mad that you guys didn't put Huhi on this graphic simply because
He's only played for a couple
But he claims he
years.
has a champion Ocean.
Yeah.
So Kiwi Kid's tempting because he has role swapped, but I'll go with a player that.
Ooh, that's a good point.
Well, I'll play with the player who's played longer and is
High is
also
my
role
other
swapped
guess.
with High. Yeah, that's what I was
High's
gonna
my
say.
guess because he's played jungle support and mid.
That's true. It's Darshan.
Ah.
What?
NALCS Player Association president, also most games
What can't
all
this man
time.
do?
What can he do?
I mean, he is aided
Play
by the number of
52
games.
champions,
but
apparently.
He's played
because
50?
he's played 51 unique champions in his NALCS.
I want to look at that list.
Top lane's crazy, man.
That's a lot of chance.
80 carries, complaining. I have to play something new.
Final question. Speaking of 80 carries playing something new, we got a DPM question.
Oh.
Across the EU and NALCS, which players this split have the lowest damage per minute across NA? We got multiple choice: Reckless, Afromoo,
It's reckless.
or Broxton.
It's reckless. It's reckless.
It's A, reckless. It has to be.
He had 700 damage in like a 35-minute game.
You know who else is on his team though? Broxa.
And he's lower?
And he's lower.
How are you lower than like a 700 damage Karma?
27 damage per minute through 2 games.
Did
so
he-
both Broxton and Reckless have lower damage per minute than any NALCS player.
Actually, I can see it simply
Including
because
supports.
Brox is relegated to jungle. Like at least
doesn't even get to interact with other
Reckless
people.
does 700 damage in lane phase with his Karma.
I guess. I mean,
That's
either
it.
way.
Oh
it's-
my
it's
goodness.
bad.
Yeah, those guys.
All right.
they didn't-
We were
Caps-
close. We were on the
Love
right
the new
team.
patch, guys. Love
Okay, before we jump into predictions, we have some unfinished business. Jat, I have to walk off camera real quick to grab this. Jat was the winner of last split's predictions. So he will be awarded the victory prize of the prediction pineapple,
Thank you
sir.
very much. I'm proud.
Congratulations.
This can carry on for generations, much like the Stanley Cup.
We've been holding on to that for a while.
Yeah, I
How
bought
jealous
this.
are you right now?
It's
You see
clutter.
this?
I'm
This
glad
is
I
the-
didn't win.
This
I
is
don't
the
want-
face of jealousy.
I don't want random
This
crap
is it,
in my apartment.
right here. You better step it up this split.
I'll
man.
lose again if that's the reward.
€6.
You're just gonna start throwing it. All right, with the
€6.
holiday, we're integrating some predictions from people far wiser than we are. Our dads in a special My Dad Can Beat Your Dad edition of predictions. Let's see how your predictions line up with your dad's as well. But first, from the three of us, here we go.
Did your dads, are
Wow.
they in cahoots?
Wait,
Woo!
nice. Your dad's smart.
I
like
think
your
our
dad.
dads are wiser
It's
than
pretty
Jat's
similar, though.
dad.
Jat's
that's
dad's
the-
only one different.
Yeah.
CLG.
All right,
been
so
watching for a while.
comparing your guys' picks
just bought your hype train
to
from
your
last year.
dad's picks, let's
see 'em.
see how closely you align with your father's.
I go the exact same.
Well,
Jat, the
You
loyalty.
betrayed your
Our
dad.
predictions
Clearly, loyalty is not an
today are
attribute
very
of
similar.
the,
I
of
feel
the
like you
Leafs.
helped your dad out or something.
No, that my dad came up with those. He
My dad will
watches the
beat your
league.
dad with that COG win. I don't care if my dad destroys
All
me.
right,
You
well,
just- you-
along,
it's Father's
along
Day, you
with
couldn't give
Just
him the gift.
Stars, we got some of the casting team to hit up their dads, and we'll be tracking whose dad comes closest to catching Uzi, Ming, and Bang by the end of the day. Of course, Avali, Captain Flowers, Azael even reaching out to his father.
Happy Father's
Riv,
Day.
the dad with the glorious mustache.
Which
can
one-
see
which
the
one is your
resemblance.
dad? Which one of those two is your dad?
Well, that's my dad and Dark Dash's
Oh, okay.
dad. Yeah, they met up
Yeah. I
for
feel
a
like
Duke
everyone
game
except
earlier
for
in the
Mark,
year.
you can really see the resemblance.
You don't see it right
Dad
here.
is just much better looking. Like that's the main thing.
I'll grow my hair out, all right?
Yeah.
Oh, man. All right. Well, that brings us to our first game of the day, TSM FlyQuest. Obviously, you guys both predicted TSM, so we've got nothing less to talk about. We're going to toss it out to the casters to get into the games.
Thank you very much, Dash, and welcome to Game 1 of the day, everybody. I'm Reverend Hibizn III, and joined by the never mean, very clean Zyrene, Mr. Aiden Moon. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there.
Absolutely. Happy Father's Day, Zyrene.
Not yet. Not yet.
Dad of so many. We are on 8-11, and we are about to see some more mayhem, some more chaos hit the rift as we have TSM taking on FlyQuest for our first match of the day.
Yeah, and I'm excited about this one in particular because TSM, they showed pretty much a standard style, what we'd call traditional, where Sven was on a carry marksman and waited for the late game. They had one of the longest games yesterday. It was the second longest one, about 42 minutes. So when you get to those 3-item power spikes, the marksmen look really good. And that seems like TSM, I wonder if they're going to continue with that style because it did net them a victory. And they have been a slow team, especially since they brought on both Sven and Mithy, who like to play a little passive. But they're up against Wild Turtle and Quan, who played kind of